191. Let's get to the fifth and last Michael Bay Transformers film, which is Transformers The Last Night. Came out in 2017. Stars Mark Wahlberg again, as well as Isabella Merced, Laura Haddock, Anthony Hopkins, and a few others. And the synopsis is: humans are at war with the Transformers, and Optimus Prime is gone. The key to saving the future lies buried in the secrets of the past and the hidden history of Transformers on Earth. I saw this one in theaters. This was the only one. I guess I saw Bumblebee in theaters, but this was the only Michael Bay one that I remember seeing in theaters. And what piqued my curiosity was the medieval aspect. I didn't know how much of that was actually in the movie, which is very little, but that was still at least one incentive to get me in the theater. And I seem to like this one slightly more than many others do, at least on Letterboxd, it seems. I don't think it's amazing, and I think it's definitely a step down from 4. Not to say 4 is a masterpiece, but I still like it a little bit less than 4, but I like it more probably than 2 and 3. The biggest thing, really by far, is Mark Wahlberg instead of Shia LaBeouf. I just think Mark Wahlberg, not a fascinating guy in this, but much less annoying. And that's a big thing for me. If you're spending 2.5, 3 hours with someone, I'd rather you not be annoying more often than not. But what I really got intrigued by, or I thought about when it first started, is there's this huge medieval sequence, like this big battle. And I would love to see with how he shot that. And it's so ridiculous. It's chaotic. It is really just Transformers, but a medieval battle. And I think I would love to see Michael Bay do a big, epic medieval movie, and where it's almost all action. It's insane. I think that would be, whether it's a terrible movie or not, I would still like to see that as a feature film as opposed to just the opening few minutes, because that was actually like really cool. And then all the stuff with Stanley Tucci as Merlin, don't love that. The character is just so goofy. It doesn't really work for me, but not a huge part of the film. Getting into the main heart of the story here, Isabella Merced, who really got her big break with this movie, and then she was also in Dora and the Lost City of Gold, which Michael Bay actually produced as well. So she's gone on to be in a lot of things. She was just in Madam Web recently. I really like her a lot, and she's very good in this. One scene and one bit of writing that I just have to point out, especially considering she's meant to be like maybe 14, 15 years old at best. There's this scene where she rescues this group of boys. Like, actually, they're more like middle school, I guess, in how they act. But when you first meet her, she's a super gung-ho, strong fighter, survivor character. And then all the boys who she rescues are very oblivious and not at all capable of fighting. And one of the boys, like the nerdy looking boy, is like, "So what's your workout routine?" And then she says something snarky to him, and the boy goes, "I love her." And it's so cringe, especially considering the age of the characters and how Michael Bay presents that. She might as well be a 30-year-old. But besides that, that whole scene, I do like that action sequence where you meet Canopy and then you meet Squeak, whatever it is, the little bot of Isabella Merced's. I think I like that character. The run-in with Mark Wahlberg, and there's that little showdown with Bumblebee, and he tries to transform, but then he gets blown apart. I love all that stuff. I like the look of the junkyard that Mark Wahlberg and the other Transformers are staying at. We also have a Transformer voiced by Steve Buscemi, which is good. And also the female lead played by Laura Haddock. Of course, sorry, have to point it out. Of course, Michael Bay has to make her a bad driver. There's that scene that they just had to put in there as a joke where she's pulling into work and she is stopping or putting on the brakes, and she runs into all the bicycles that are locked up and they all fall over. It's like, ha ha. Such low-hanging fruit. Drives me nuts. But that character I still like overall, and I think she and Mark Wahlberg have an all right chemistry together. It's nothing amazing, but I appreciate that sort of character in this who is seemingly more educated and sophisticated, whereas Mark Wahlberg is not. The town attack sequence isn't too bad. I do feel like there are points where it becomes too incoherent, even for me, in terms of the mayhem and the editing. Also, one thing I do like, not to say that it's groundbreaking or amazing, but I don't mind the look of the villain in this, Quintessa, like the Medusa sort of character. I like the look of that, special effects wise, the sound of her voice, that bassy, metallic-y voice. I really like all that. I like the look of Cybertron as well. I do find, though, it is 2.5 hours long. It's a little bit shorter than 4, but I feel like when they get to the mansion owned by Anthony Hopkins, who is talking complete gibberish this entire movie, but he's still nice to have in it. I feel like when he gets there, the pacing, not to say there's amazing pacing in this movie anyways, but the pacing even more so really falls off. I feel like it really becomes pretty inert and they stay there for so long. And then there's this ridiculous sequence that they somehow end up on a submarine and they're just able to control the submarine, which is completely nonsensical. Like, how does that even happen? I couldn't even tell you why they're on that submarine. It's so convoluted. Oh, and before I forget, one small sequence that, as I would like to see the medieval Michael Bay movie, I would love to see, as they show in this, the World War II scene where Bumblebee is fighting the Nazis. I would love to see a Transformers film set in World War II. I think that'd be so cool. Maybe we'll get that one day. I doubt it, but that was a really intriguing, crazy idea to me that I hadn't really thought of before. Some other aspects, I like the score in really all of these films. It's nothing brilliant, but I still like it. The cinematography and lighting is good, I think, for the most part. Then probably my favorite action scene in the movie in terms of the direction and just the overall visuals of it is I guess he turns into quote unquote Nemesis Prime, the fight with him and Bumblebee on top of that ship or the submarine, whatever it is, like that cliffside. I think that looks awesome and I love the choreography and it's really pretty brutal and violent and the camera's swirling all around. I love that sequence a lot. The final fight goes on, as with most, goes on a little too long. I don't mind the setting at Stonehenge. I think that's pretty cool. And I like a lot of the different little moments within it, but it doesn't really elevate it or save it from being, a fairly subpar movie. But I really don't think it's as bad as some people say. And I don't really understand why, of all the things, this one gets trashed and the others don't as much. So that kind of baffles me still. So it would be middle of the pack of all the films that I'm talking about here, not just the Michael Bay ones. Could be better, could be a lot better. So that one is a heavy 3 out of 5.